Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 5th, 2021 at approximately 9:47 a.m. PST. Well, our radio show last night went really well. According to the host Dave Scott, it may well have been one of our best as far as the amount of audience participation. And again, this is one of those little goals that we've got. You know, we started doing the radio show 6 years ago now, and it was the last place that I had planned on being. I'd spoken at a couple of UFO conferences, right? But I was not expecting this kind of a response. And again, thanks so much to the people that have joined me and stayed with me on Spaced Out Radio. Last night was the first Friday of the month, and for the last 6 years, the first Friday of the month from 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m., I've been talking on the ET Connection, R. Keith Andrews of the ET Connection, right, about all things alien technology, the whole 9 yards. Now, that being said, it's been the people from there that really got me encouraged to start doing the video posts. And thus far, since March 6th, I think I missed 3 or 4 days. One day maybe I'll go back and check it out. I don't know. But the idea is take a look at the way your world is. Okay. When we work together, we can eliminate war, greed, famine. They can be wiped out when we follow the 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Now, if you follow those 3 laws, okay, and if you compare those to the different religious practices, whatever you follow, whether it's mainstream religion, New Age, or your own way of looking at it, take a look at the guidelines you operate under and compare them to those 3 laws. And you'll find, as near as I can figure, that whatever guidelines you're working with will fit inside those 3. Those are the only 3 I bother paying attention to. Now understand, when you're looking at a law in society, and societal law says, do this. The reason I follow the law more often than not is because I can't be bothered with dealing with the side effects of not following it. Okay. If you're now, therefore, this is for anybody working in the lawmaking field. Make certain that the laws you're passing apply to everybody. They don't have loopholes with them just because somebody's got more money or because somebody's got a certain color skin. You've got to make sure that the laws are equally apparent to everybody. The people working in fields, like for instance when we have traffic laws, the people that are working to enforce the traffic laws must be made accountable. They must be forced, and they must follow the same laws or suffer the same consequences. If this does not happen, society will split into 2 classes. You'll have the people that follow the law and the ones that don't. However, the ones that don't follow those laws will end up making their own laws, and the same rule applies. If in this subculture the laws are not held equally responsible, then it too will fracture. And you want to see the outcome of that? Look at the world today. Okay, so many people are running by their own rules, their own laws, and they're trying to change things for their own benefit. Problem: society itself has to have laws. Not every law is going to make everybody happy. But they've got to be equal laws. Okay, and they're very necessary. This is why overthrowing governments doesn't work well, because what happens, if you want to see the best story I ever read, in my opinion, that covered that really well, I believe the author was Orson Welles. I might be mistaken on the author, but the story was Animal Farm. If you haven't read it, Read it. It will show you what happens when you overthrow a government and try and instill a new one. Okay, government has to come into play. There has to be guidelines. Okay, when you're dealing with spiritual guidelines, if you're not making equal laws, if you're not following the laws, if the people that are standing at the front of a church or a temple or at the head of a coven or at the head of a group and making these demands of people, if they themselves are not following it, there will be a fracture. And, well, take a look at the Spanish Inquisition. That went over really well. This is why I say you've got to make laws that fit, that apply to everybody. Okay, now we bring this all back into that neat little issue of take a look at your own world. Okay, when we take a look at our own world, decide what you're not content with. Okay, it's very easy to figure out what you're not happy with. Can be problematic trying to figure out what you might be happy with in 10 years. So take a look at the way your life is right now. Discount everybody else. We're talking about you personally. Okay, we're not talking about your kids, your other half, your spouse, your neighbor, your priest or the cops. We're not talking about any of them. We're talking about you personally. Are you content with the way your world is? Okay. And I'm telling you right now, this is one thing I keep talking about it, so I'm going to take a pause here. But that rust-colored sweater hanging on the shelf behind me, it's being moved right now to the door. Okay, so I'm going to pause this. I will be right back because I keep saying I'm going to get to it and I keep postponing it. This is what I'm referring to about I get distracted. So I'll be right back. Okay, now as you can see, that sweater is now gone. Okay, like I said, I've got a bad habit of getting sidetracked on occasion. This is why I have mentioned I'm not perfect. I'm not telling you everything I do makes total sense. I'm telling you that what the tools I offer, that was good. The tools I offer are the ones that I personally use. Okay, which means that I didn't just hang it on the door. I actually took it back and hung it in the closet where it belongs. Net result, I don't have to deal with it anymore. It's where it belongs. Okay, this is what I mean by identify something that you're not content with in your life and deal with it. Okay, it's been dealt with. And of course, to make sure I keep everything in track, now what I do is mark down that it was a goal that I had to do. I wasn't actually planning on adding it to the list. Well, I probably should have been, but it's now been checked off. It goes on my list of things that I did get accomplished today. Okay, the nice little part about it is when we take a look at it, okay, we end up with all sorts of neat little things. And I could have sworn I wrote something down there, but... And no, I didn't. Oh, there it is. Just can't read my own writing. That's why I've got this in this list here. Okay, to make sure that I get things dealt with. And I do encourage that list. Like I said, and I've mentioned this dozens of times, I know that. Okay, the list I'm referring to, when you see something you're not content with, write it down. Okay, write it down and make a change. Now, the tasks that we're talking about are 15-minute to half-hour jobs. That way you can get things accomplished and it will feel like you got something done in a day. Okay, I started off with a dozen things this morning. Now, I got started really late today. But if we take a look at the things in your life and you eliminate the things you're not content with, when you get all of those out of the way, the nice little part about it is, as it happens, you will be more adept at dealing with the stresses of the outside world. Net result, when you go out and you're dealing with somebody out in public, you can deal with them a little more easily. Net result for them, their day goes reasonably well. They go home, they can deal with the stresses at home a little easier. And subsequently, it starts feeding on itself. And you can see if you start extrapolating how those are going to play off each other. And the next thing we know, the community you're living in and the household that you're living in is becoming so much more enjoyable. Okay. it's becoming an issue of you can actually look forward to getting up. We start eliminating that, you get the house, your own personal life organized. Your house starts to get organized as a side effect. That affects the neighborhood around you. And if the neighborhood becomes, or more to the point, as the neighborhood becomes more unified, it affects the bigger areas. Net result, we have towns, cities, provinces, states, countries starting to work. Now, this is a very long uphill battle. And am I asking for your help to make this happen? The answer is yes. Because when I started doing these videos, I was encouraged by the people on Spaced Out Radio to really get this information out and to let people know. Well, it started off with me going, well, how am I getting where I am? Well, how I got where I am is, quite frankly, stubborn disposition, a staggering amount of procrastination, and some pretty functional luck. Unfortunately, my stress level has played havoc. But what is now happening is, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know where I made hiccups. The last 5 months have been great. I haven't had a worry in the world to speak of, but it led to a problem. See, the reality of it is this. I corrected the financial problem. I paid off the debts that I had. What I didn't correct was I didn't correct the mindset. June is my month to correct the mindset. Now, the average time in a month, the average time it takes to break a habit is 21 days. Okay, that's the average time to break a habit, the average time to create a habit. And sometimes habits are good. Okay, one of the goals I'm making for myself, because I know my spending where it comes to eating out has been staggeringly high. So aside from today, which I am going out tonight, because I'm going out to support an MMA fighter friend of mine. Okay, and I told her that I would be at the restaurant that she works at in order to support her efforts. So I will be there. After that, I've got to find a much more restricted number of times that I'm going out for coffee. Okay, because it was way overboard. It wasn't just I was going out for coffee. It was I was going out and eating lunch every single day. So I was looking at the last couple of months, I've been cooking off $400 in food out. Now, this is an absolutely stupid maneuver. Okay, I don't need somebody else to tell me that. I just need to look at my bank book and go, okay, I cannot continue this path. At this point, I've stopped it before it got into a real disaster. But it's kind of like pulling out of a nosedive in a plane. You know, you're coming down, you're heading straight for the ground, and you pull it up and you skim the treetops. Well, you miss the ground. Okay, that's what I've essentially done. Okay, if I handle June right, then what happens is, by the end of June, I should be doing this again with my bank accounts. I should be climbing and bringing them back up. But it's going to take a definitive effort on my part to say, I'm just not doing that. You know, I'm just not going anymore. That is strictly a battle against me. My will, my drive, that's all I've got. And I'm the only person that can change it. I'm also the only person that I can hold responsible for it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and the trick is just simply don't go to the restaurant. You know, I mean, I was talking to one person years ago, and they looked at me and they went, I don't know how I'm going to afford to live. Now, at the time, I was spending maybe $300 a month on groceries for myself, my wife at the time, and my one child. Okay, and I'm sitting there, and this coworker goes, I don't know how I can survive. I've got 2 weeks left. I've got 4 adults living at home, and I've only got $400 left to feed them. And of course, I looked at her and went, you're buying from the wrong place. If you're spending on 4 adults $400 and more than $400 for groceries in 2 weeks, you're buying the wrong food. Okay, now if you can afford that food, like the last 5 months, I haven't thought about it. Okay, and in all fairness, that was my fault. Because I didn't pay close attention to it. I got the bills out of the back debts out of the way. And I've been keeping bills current. But the problem is that I didn't take care of the mindset. So the last 5 months I've been playing around, as it were. Well, that has to stop now. Same as you have been doing things for the longest time, but you're the only one you can blame. Okay, well, that's not true. You can blame anybody you choose, but the reality is the only one that can do anything about your behavior is you. Other people can coerce you, they can tell you all the necessary changes that have to be made, etc., etc. But it's up to you to make the changes. You're the only one that can do it. You're the only one that can be successful for you. Take all the guidance, all the encouragement you can get from other people. By correcting the way your life is going, by eliminating those negative things, you'll find you're a lot more content with the outcome. You're a lot happier with your life, thereby you'll be able to be a lot more relaxed with other people when they are doing things that are questionable. Okay, but you must follow the 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself. Okay, now for me, this means that I have to put that limit in place and go, this is all I'm doing. That's it. That goal has to be to bring my finances up to a certain level. And I will have to determine that this weekend. Well, I don't have to, but that's one of the things I'll be doing this weekend. Pick a goal for you. Get your world moving in the right direction, and you will find you're able to handle the rest of the stresses of day-to-day life with a lot less struggle. That is the important factor from that standpoint. Yes, I've got my phone over there. I needed to charge it, so it sits over there. That's why I say this is a live recording, meaning I don't go back and edit anything. The only thing I do is I'll fire up the video as soon as I get done and make sure that I put the right date in. If I did the date right, then that's great. Then I go in and post as is. If I did the date wrong, then what I end up doing is scrapping the whole field and redoing the entire video. This is also part of the reason why I keep it to about a half-hour length. But as we expand that bubble out, the people that you interact with, when you've got your life running in the way that you're content, where you're not dealing with a whole pile of things you're not content with. Like another one of those neat little things I'm looking at, okay, is I will be going for the 2nd time this year, which is great because it's also the 2nd time in a decade. But I'll be getting my hair cut a little. I'll get it tidied up and what have you. That's my goal. And that's for me. It's funny because I actually asked my other half whether she preferred long or short hair. And she goes, well, I prefer it being a little shorter, a little neater, right? But she says, it's not a make or break. I says, no, you don't understand. I said, I was planning on getting it cut anyway, unless you prefer the long hair. So this getting chopped down a little, and just for those of you, I know there's one individual in particular that will question it. So I'm just going to put it out to them. The hair is going to get shortened down. These, on the other hand, they're staying. These are mine. Okay, the beard, I'll take care of that. That goes from time to time, as you've seen. Okay, the nice part about it from your end is take a look at your life. I'm just giving you examples of things that I'm dealing with myself. Okay, in order to get my life in order. And it's not a question of doing things ineffectively. It's not a question of my being better than anybody else. I just happen to have got an idea. I've managed to get an idea in my head that is working in theory, and over the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing my best to make it happen. I will be setting goals for the middle of the month, like from a financial standpoint. This mess that you see around me, it really isn't a mess compared to what it was, which if you go back to the other videos, you'll be able to see what I mean by that. But there's a number of things that are going to go the way of the dodo bird. Okay, I'm going to be clearing things out. I'm going to be getting things in place. Financially, I'm going to have goals that are not just at the end of the month, but are also for midpoint, so I can see the progression and see the headway that's being made. It has become painfully apparent to me that I've overlooked certain things with mindset, and that's the thing I've got to get straightened out. Am I disappointed in me for not doing it earlier? Certainly. Am I going to lose sleep over it? No, I lose sleep over other things. Okay, so the idea is simple. Get your life working, get the things in your life you're not content with moved out of the way. Now, I will still encourage you, find a group, be it a church, a temple, a coven, a group meeting for dealing with addictions, or just like-minded friends. Okay, one of the groups that I get together with, and it's amazing it still holds on occasion, is iGame. Okay, I play Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, yes, I'm 58 years old. I'm still playing Dungeons and Dragons. I've been doing so since I was 13. Okay, but that thinking, that game, has resulted in things like this little novel written by a gamer for gamers. The only place you can order it right now is actually through me. Okay, now these are just some of the things that I'm personally working on. That particular novel is the first novel that I've got out. The second one I just finished the expansion on, so all I've got left at this point, the sequel to that one, all I've got left on it now is the final proofreading. And that's coming along nicely. So the goal is to have it out by the end of the year. Okay. Then we've got this funny little one. Now, this is a little children's story. Okay. That was rattled off because I got tired of repeating the same story, of reading the same stories to my own son at the time. So I just turned around and went, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to rattle off this story. Well, Mr. Dreamcatcher was the side effect of that. And from approximately the age 2.5 to a month before he turned 8, my son wouldn't go to bed if I didn't read him the story. Net result, it ended up in print. Now the sequel for it is already written. Okay, then I've got these two little books here. And these are just little goals that I set for me. Okay, we have this one, which is believe in yourself and follow your dreams. We have this one, which is believe in your business and follow your dreams. There are 10 others that I'm in the middle of writing that fall under the same category. Okay. And then, of course, this one, which is directly attributable to my time with Spaced Out Radio, which is Races of the Worlds. This one is already in print. I'm guessing about 2/3 of the way through writing the second volume. Okay. Needless to say, I have 3 things that I do. My day is real simple. Okay, and like I said, get it organized. Get up in the morning, get your breakfast into you. Get up, get set up for the day, get your bed turned and done, made up. Then get out, get your breakfast, and get on with your day. Okay, in my case, that boils down to coming in here. I usually end up playing a little bit of a video game up front, but it has come to my attention that without my son, I will not be able, or without somebody, I will not be able to actually complete the game because there are things in it, the speed of some of the games, of some of the challenges, I cannot do. I cannot find my way through certain of the puzzles. But I've come to accept that, and it's like, okay, I'll carry on playing the game, and when I get to those points, I will call my son and get him to deal with it. This is called acknowledging your own shortfalls and working around them. I get done taking a little bit of time to get my coffee into me, to get my breakfast, play a little bit of a game, then I come in here and record the journey. Okay, once I've got this done, and this is only, I think we've got about 5 minutes left here. Yep, about 5 minutes left. Once it's done, I check the date, I will post it, then I'll get on with the rest of my day. Now, I've got a bunch of things on my list already. that I will be dealing with as soon as I get up and running. Do the same thing yourself. These are the tools that I personally use and have resulted in my ending up debt-free. My stress level has gone right through the roof as far as my own world goes. I've still got shortfalls. I've still got problems that I have to deal with. Okay, I still get frustrated. I am not perfect by any means. But I am me, and at least I'm honest about it. Okay. Understand the only thing in the world that anybody has that is of any functional value, and it's the only thing that nobody can take from anybody, and that is your word. So one of the issues here for me is while I'm making the journey, and like while I'm recording it, I tell you this is what I'm doing. Well, basically I'm making a commitment to me because I'm looking right at me. The fact you're looking at me as well is almost, how do I put this? It's not exactly irrelevant, and rest assured, you can't be looking at me because of my looks. Okay, at least not in my opinion. But from that standpoint, make a commitment to yourself because that's the only commitment that is really going to hold a lot of water to you. Now, when I tell somebody I'm going to do something for them, my commitment is to me is to follow through with what I just told them I would do. Okay. Now, is it imperative if you give your word, follow it through? Absolutely. So be certain you're careful with what word you give, because you cannot ungive it. I mean, you can certainly go, yes, I'll do this. And then you can turn around and go, no, I've had second thoughts. I'm not going to be doing that. But in a case like that, make sure you tell the person why, that you're not. Where it comes to relationships, now you get into a relationship, okay, and most people seem to get into it with the idea, we're going to make this last. And especially where it comes to marriage, we get married till death do us part. Keep in mind, the death is the death of the emotional connection, not necessarily the physical body. Okay. Now, the other thing you got to remember with marriage. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a firm believer in marriage, and I will eventually get married a second time. But holding a marriage together for the children, or holding a relationship together for the children, is, in my opinion, a disaster for the kids. Because what happens is the kids get taught, stay in the relationship, even if it's bad. Okay, and they will go out and they will strive to replicate that. It's likely to be a subconscious thing. But as thinking parents, as thinking adults, it is imperative you realize if you're staying in a relationship for the kids, you've got to understand what message you're actually giving them. Okay. Are you hoping they get into a relationship that's abusive that they won't walk out of because, well, I said I was in it for better or for worse? The idea is that it's supposed to be a whole lot more the better. Okay. Now, I'm happy to say that in the relationship I currently have, to the best of my knowledge, we've had some hiccups, but we've never actually, I think we're looking at 8 months now, we haven't actually fought. And that is the idea that we don't desire to. Lord knows what's going to happen when things go down the road, but that's certainly where we're aiming. But it starts by being true to you. It starts by you looking in the mirror and going, what am I not content with in my life? Now, frankly, I'm not overly content with my wardrobe, and I'll change that as time goes on. But the reality is it's not a critical priority to me. For me, it's a simple issue of figuring out what I'm not content with and start eliminating it, like I did with the sweater that I just moved. I didn't like where it was sitting. I've talked about it for 2 or 3 days. Remember that thing I mentioned about I have a tendency of procrastinating? That's the side effect. Okay. Now, on that note, time to sit down and really take a look in the mirror. This is the time for all of us, starting right where we are, right at this moment, to look at what you're not content with and start making adjustments to it. I will be back tomorrow. at some time, probably for early in the morning, because that's the routine I'm aiming at getting on for me. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive. Oh, I forgot to mention. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share the daylights out of it. Until tomorrow, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.